I think so. Yeah, like, I don't know, maybe. It's gone by fast. I need to be like you and Dale wear them around my neck.
I was I got to the point where
What?
I just got to.
Well, I don't need them from like here out. I just need them from. And it's okay, but it's getting a little boring.
You gotta change powers. Now you can get lens exchange, there's lots of lens exchange, but with your cataract, they take it out, they can put in a multifocal lens now for near, far, and without having to develop a cataract. That you pay out. And lifestyle.
How's everything running?
I'm okay.
Running fourth slab today. Victory.
I'm in total denial.
How much hill?
Huh? Hey, Rob,
Weekday.
how many total yards was the fire for? Is a big.
It was about 65 or 66 trucks. Per truck.
Yeah.
Wow. They still have to talk about it. Walking the whole,
Wednesday.
Just think of the PSB and bigger is biggest.
Amazing beast. Yeah.
Can't wait for it to start going vertical. Yeah, they'll cut it, they'll start cutting the controls on some tomorrow. And then, you know. Maybe even longer. Well, I mean, yeah. No, it's a lot. It's just a beat. Yeah. See that video? Which one? Go ahead. Oh, no, I didn't see it.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, ladies out there too. Yeah. Oh, we did? Cool. Let's see it. I'll see you. Show me tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, we're going to get started.
All right.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock, Thursday, October 17th, 2024. We're going to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Father James Durkitz is here to the opening prayer.
Thank you, Mayor Moore, council members. We take a deep breath and move from whatever we've been doing all day to focus on the work of the city. Let us breathe and pray for guidance. Heavenly Father, in you we live and move and have our being. We humbly pray you so to guide and govern us by your Holy Spirit, that in all cares and occupations of our life, we may not forget you, but may remember that we are ever walking in your sight through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, item 3 on the agenda is a proclamation and presentation. The first item is recognition of the retirement of our longtime city engineer, Jim Urban. Jim.
Long time.
Long time. Why don't you come to the podium so we could stare at you?
Oh, no.
So,
Yeah, back for public comment, someone said.
Oh, boy.
When I was engineer,
Okay, yes.
so Jim, your official last day is
Halloween.
Halloween. Well, let's go to celebrate on a holiday. Well, we have a little something I'm going to read on behalf of a little gift. So allow me to read this. Jim Urban. Jim graduated from Texas A&M University College Station, class of 1979. Just kidding. With a degree in civil engineering and was also a member of the Texas A&M Corps of Cadets. In June of 1980, Jim began his engineering career at Urban Engineering, and in 1988 continued his education at the Advanced Engineering School in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. If any of this is incorrect, please let me know.
Good so far.
Okay,
I'm
all
wondering
right.
where you found it.
Jim served as a commander in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for 10 years and assisted in the design of 11 kilometers of roadway through the mountains of Honduras, as well as development and construction of schools in Belize. Jim has served as the city engineer for Port Aransas for over 34 years, starting in 1990. He was a key participant in the development of its coastal management plan in 1994 and what has now become state law when it was adopted in the state's Natural Resource Code. Among Jim's impressive credits was his development of a program for capital impact fees, which was one of the first such programs approved in the state of Texas. Jim has been heavily involved with Hurricane Harvey recovery, from stepping in immediately after the storm, providing hands-on recovery efforts, to preparing infrastructure drainage assessment in a time span of what was just merely 30 days, which has been extremely helpful in our FEMA recovery process, to designing and overseeing construction of what has been over $100 million in recovery efforts. Jim, without you, we couldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have the streets and the roads and the infrastructure, and your guidance and support and expertise has been instrumental. So on behalf of myself and the rest of council and our staff, we wish you the very best in your retirement. Very well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay. We have something. It's, no, we didn't want you to do that. So now you're going to get an official bell of the city. You could put up somewhere. Look at that.
Cool.
Look at that, city engineer.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You gotta ring it at least once.
Yeah, ring it. Ring it. There you go.
Yeah, then buy a round.
There we go.
Jim and I have had a love relationship. 19 years, but Jim, want to thank you for helping me when I first got here, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Well, thanks. It's been my great time.
Yeah,
Appreciate it so much.
there's some-
Well, we appreciate you greatly.
I'm hanging out with all of y'all. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, we know you're not going anywhere,
Well,
so
retirement, you can fish more.
you will be missed.
Yeah, you just.
That's it, Anthony.
He's gonna say tag you're in. Aw.
All right, moving on, we have a recognition and celebration of the Port Aransas Nature Preserve at the Charlie Pasture Spear for its official designation, Charlie's Pasture, excuse me, for its official designation as the Western Hemisphere Shorebird Reserve Network site. Ray, that was a mouthful. Please come up and explain. Okay, yeah,
Okay,
good.
let's hear it.
So the Western Hemisphere Shorebird Reserve Network, also known as WISRN. So
perfect.
kind of sounds cool. So this is a really big deal. It's this hemispheric recognition. So thank you all for all of what they did a long time ago in creating the nature reserve, because these shorebirds have a safe place to be, and that wouldn't be the case if we hadn't done that. So that's really important what the city did, and that's a part of what was submitted into the nomination packet. And okay, so David Newstead is here. Come on up. So he's the director of the Coastal Bird Program for the Coastal Bend Bays and Estuaries Program. And they have biologists that monitor nests out in the nature preserve, and they also just do bird, well, I guess he can tell you, bird surveys. And that data is what led us to getting to the threshold of being considered a site in this network. So do you want to talk more about that? quickly?
Sure, yeah, I appreciate that, that the city, was willing to allow for this designation. It does tie you into a partnership network that spans the hemisphere, spans the Western Hemisphere. A lot of these birds are coming from the high Arctic. Some of them are stopping over and going all the way to South America. So it really is an important place. I've been around here for about 25 years. And actually one of the first things I did early on down here was I was doing a project looking for nesting snowy plovers throughout the entire coastal bend. And I knew that there was potentially good habitat out of Charlie's pasture, but if anybody who's had a long tenure in Port Aransas probably knows that it looks nothing like it did back 25 years ago. There's a lot of, I'm sure people have some fond and fuzzy memories of Charlie's pasture at that time. But anyway, it's been really, really amazing to watch birds come back as soon as it's been, pretty well protected. We've been monitoring it for, like Ray said, a number of years. But some of the data actually goes back, and it's kind of, a legacy of Tony Amos as well. I'm sure you're all familiar with. So we're just glad to keep that legacy alive and keep making it good for shorebirds, and appreciate the Nature Preserve and staff for maintaining, working with us.
Well, thank you for your help.
Yeah, you're monitoring.
Yeah.
And so we have a short video of the Assistant Executive Director of the Wizard Council. And so, anyway, sorry.
This is Isadora Margarita. She's a partner with Manamet who works she's actually based in Argentina, but sort of helps stitch this whole thing together.
We're delighted to welcome Port Aransas Nature Preserve at Charlie's Pasture as the newest member of the Western Hemisphere Shorebird Reserve Network, WISR. This designation is a testament to the site's critical role in providing habitat for shorebirds, many of which undertake remarkable migratory journeys across the Americas. Being part of the network, part of WISR, elevates the international importance of this site and reflects the collective commitment to protecting shorebirds and their habitats. This achievement is only possible through collaboration with local, national, and international partners. Together, we can ensure that conservation efforts are coordinated and impactful, linking this site with other sites in the network to create a resilient future for shorebirds. WISR, the network, is built on partnerships and collaboration, and we look forward to working with you to safeguard shorebirds and their habitats they need. Welcome to WISR. Welcome to the network.
Wizard.
Okay. All right, thanks, Ray. All right, we'll move on to item 4, which is citizen comments and reports. We have one person signed up. Mr. Savage, Ken Savage, please come forward.
Good evening. I'm a resident, my wife is a resident, we're part of a group of citizens, animal lovers, so we're here to talk about the animal shelter. We would like to thank the city council for recognizing that Port Aransas has an urgent need for a new animal shelter. The abandoned dogs and cats are there through no fault of their own, and they deserve to be treated with dignity and humanity. We have petition signatures that show that the residents and visitors to PA support that effort and want to ensure that the initiative continues to move forward. We would like to present the council with a petition that has currently 539 signatures that we've collected in a little over 2 weeks. This is them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
guys.
Thank you. All right, item 5. We'll move on to the consent agenda. In the consent agenda, there's 2 items. If anybody wants to pull any item for review, or if there's a motion to approve. Do you have a question?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No. Double check. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
all right. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens is not here, Councilmember Whitney,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Item 6, we'll move on. Items for consideration. We'll start with item C. It's a presentation from Samco Capital Markets. the city's financial advisor on hotel occupancy tax certificate of obligation for Charlie's Pasture Bulkhead Park. Hello, gentlemen.
So at each of your seats, just for your guys's
Thank you.
reminder, I've printed out a preliminary copy of the we call it the Coastal Park or the Bulkhead Park or Charlie's Pasture Bulkhead Park. Intercoastal Park. There's a bunch of names for it, but anyway, it's about 4,000 linear feet of park from the Charlie's Pasture Pier pretty much down to the nature reserve entry where it turns off the bulkhead and heads into the nature reserve pavilion. We discussed at the meeting the possibility of a bond, a C of O bond funded through HOT. And Samco is here to discuss that. And just for timeline, it would be something if you guys wanted to move forward, you wouldn't vote on it tonight, but you'd at least give us a straw poll and say, team, come back with this at the November meeting, and that would kick things off. So that's kind of the timeline. There's you're not approving anything today. And with that, I'm going to turn that over to Andrew and his team with Samco, our bond team, to discuss kind of the city's bonding capacity, where we're at, and how everything would flow. Andrew.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Council. Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets, and joined by Jack McCliney this evening. I think Dave pretty much covered everything that I intended to cover with that very thorough review. What I've handed out is a potential timeline of events should you all determine that you want to move forward with this, just as with the other certificates of obligation the city's borrowed. And as proposed, we would come back if you all decided you want to proceed with this at your next meeting in November for a notice of intention resolution. That's the first step in the legal process to issue COs, where we would state the meeting date, which you would consider the issuance of those obligations, which if you look towards the bottom of that timetable would be your meeting February 20th, 2025. The amount of bonds, or a not to exceed amount that you would propose to issue, which to my understanding is about $8 million right now. You can always issue less than that, but we set a not to exceed amount in that notice of intention resolution, and then outline the projects. So again, tonight, this is really informational. If you all did want to proceed, the first legal step would start at your November 21st meeting. And again, even taking that action in November doesn't lock you into having to issue. Certainly, we don't want to go through all the steps in the process if you all are on the fence, perhaps about issuing it. But we would go through, get a bond rating in place, just as we have in the past. We got a very high AA plus bond rating here, so we get very, low costs of funds, and then proceed into the actual pricing, which wouldn't be locked in until February 20th. You will approve the sale at that time, money delivered to the city March 19th. On the financial side of things, put together a pretty brief pro forma analysis, because this would be proposed to be repaid ultimately, not by your property taxes, but by the hotel occupancy taxes that the city receives. So we looked at how much have you received in the hotel occupancy tax fund fiscal year 2023. And so you can see we generate nearly $6 million in revenue, about $1 million in expenditure in that fund. So you've got roughly $5 million of bonding capacity. $8 million principal and interest amortized over 15 years is roughly $730,000 a year. So we've got plenty of capacity to afford that. And again, not being repaid by the property tax payers of the city, but by the hotel occupancy taxes you all collect as the large tourist destination that Port Aransas enjoys being. So from a financial standpoint, you all can easily afford this. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Interest rates.
So we're seeing interest rates come down. I expect that they'll hopefully continue to come down. We saw them drop. The Federal Reserve took action in late September, cutting rates 50 basis points. And we saw interest rates come down really in advance of that. The market was expecting it. And then we keep getting good economic news, and that kind of sends interest rates back up. We would expect to price this somewhere below 4%. The numbers you see here are run at 4.5%. We just try to always be conservative. We won't know the exact interest rate until we get to that pricing date in February.
Okay, that's when we would lock in the interest
That's,
rate.
yeah, that's when we'll lock in rates. We'll price, and we typically always sold competitively, meaning we advertise that we'd like bids from investment banks around the country the day of our council meeting. And we would get those at 11 a.m. and then we'd be here for your regular meeting at 5 p.m. So we would know the interest rates at that time. And then you're voting, knowing exactly what those interest rates are, what that fiscal impact is at that time.
As far as the specific title, or I know sometimes you have to have a specific use. But
Yes.
You can use, the language can be somewhat varied so that you could put other uses possibly in there as we're figuring out exactly what the cost is, to do the project. I know we
I
have.
mean, like when we do street and drainage, we don't list specific streets so that you can, if you end up with extra funds, you can use them on additional streets.
And so that's why when would we actually have to make that definite?
We'll need to make that ahead of your meeting in November when we
Right.
adopt that notice of intention resolution. So you've got plenty of flexibility. We just need to know that in advance. And an example I would often use, if you think you might have excess money left over after the completion of the project, and we've always got street projects, for instance, that you might put that money to use for, 2-3 years from now when the project's wrapped up, is and this will go to the lawyers. So I just play one on TV. This in my mind would be maybe parks and recreation improvements.
Sure.
If you all, and maybe you have other parks you want to spend the money on, so that would be a fine, kind of catch-all for everything. But we can also include streets. For instance, if you, would prefer to use, any excess surplus funds.
Well, it would have to be hot eligible. Yeah.
Well, the COs that we're issuing are going
Yeah.
to be backed by ad valorem taxes, so there's flexibility. Now, the funds spent on that could be spent and would be repaid out of the hot. So the portion of debt that is going to be repaid from hot taxes has to be tied to that hot eligible project. If you, because we can, certificates of obligation, you can create economies of scale by saying, we're going to do, and I'm not suggesting this, $8 million for Charlie's Pasture and $4 million for street improvements. We can
As
sell
long
those
as
all
you say
together.
it, right? As long as that's in your title, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not trying to confuse things.
But I think if
You've
we
got
keep the language to parks, then all our parks qualify. I think if we had any overage, we could easily find where to spend it. Whether the community park, the new rec center, I mean, a whole bunch of stuff. So I think there's a bunch of areas that we could put the money if we wanted to.
When we got kind of a final estimate on what.
And so Andrew, so if council chose to bring the resolution back in November, and if they approved it, then we advertise, we enter into like a 45-day window or something?
Yeah, once the notice of intention resolution is adopted, it goes on the city's website, it goes in the jetty for 2 consecutive weeks. That first publication in the newspaper starts a 46-day clock. After that 46-day clock has run, then the COs can be brought to the city council for your consideration. This is a little bit longer than that 46-day window because we try to line it up with your regular meetings. But that's generally how the timing plays out. And I would also offer, you can always set that not to exceed amount higher. And then by the time we get to actually pricing the bonds in February, if you all have a better, cost determination at that time, then we can actually sell the amount of bonds that you need. It gives you a little bit more flexibility if there's some uncertainty about what that may cost, that may give you some flexibility rather than find out in January that 8 million is not going to be enough. We still can't sell above that not to exceed amount. So just food for thought as you all think about this over the course of the next month.
Okay.
So we brought this project to you guys, and then we also brought the streetscape project. The streetscape streetscape project, we're moving forward, but it's a much different path, slower. It's the one where we need to get into Texas Ledge, get our city listed in that hot law that allows a city to use hot tax on streetscape, which currently is not permitted. It allows you to use 50% of it, and then you have to have a 50% match. So that one's like a 2-year process. So that one's down the road a little bit. This is the project that you guys could move on now.
Could we use any of this money for that project?
No.
Not as of now.
No, not unless,
Not unless we specify it.
Okay.
yeah, not unless you specified it and you passed the law.
Right.
You got in on the ledge, and which also has a component of going to the voters for the other 50% match that comes out of a pot that's other than hot tax. So it's a 2-step process. Get approval on the ledge, get in on the law, then take it to your voters, and then they vote on coming up with the other 50%. So that one's kind of a long path to get that approved. Whereas this one, it's just how we spelled it out.
But that would be an increase to the actual hot tax. Okay. Yeah.
I
Which a
think
lot
we
of
have other-
cities do.
Some of them are
Some are
16,
17,
17, 18%. So we're still low.
Very low. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, the bigger cities have a little higher ceiling. They, depending on the population, and then they have the big sports complexes and stuff like that. So they got a little
What
bit
was the
higher.
initial quote when that came? Somebody did something. and
For what?
said- For the estimate here on.
On this one, it was right at 8 million.
And the streets were,
Streets were
Broken up in
9,
colors.
7, and 7. And then we kind of valued engineered them and got them down to like 5, 5, and 7.
so this is gonna tie up a chunk of change coming out of the hot tax for the next
15.
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, it ties up.
700, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If all things stay the same, Dave, where do you find that $750,000 out of our hot tax that we use money for? So we're using all our hot tax. Do we stop saving it, or how do we address?
What if you tap into it for 730,000 a year?
Is that just left going into our reserves, or does it have an impact in the way the cities run and what we use hot tax for?
Well, I mean,
I know Darla's not here to answer.
no, I mean, but I mean, every year you guys have your capital projects that you're doing for hot. So, I mean, last year we used it for pavilion, harbor master office, main
Right.
pavilion, the marina. We're getting through the good part is that in about a year, we're going to be 100% done with Harvey recovery. So all those big hot expenditures are we've taken care of them. Marina, Roberts Point, community park, pool. So, we've checked those off. So, I mean, I think you have the room for this.
Just an annual hot tax collection.
And we have to do something, because that's just gonna.
Well, you're not allowed to just stockpile it. So,
No, but
yeah, I
it's
mean,
just- No, we gotta do something, but I mean, if we don't do something, this gets deteriorated and.
We don't
What
have
we've done.
enough hot tax money in reserve based on all the other projects we have going on to do something.
Right.
So even if we don't do it to this scale, to $8 million scale, this will allow us the ability to do something
do it.
really nice
Okay.
that will last a really long time. Because otherwise, it's gonna stay.
Yeah.
It
get worse.
mess.
Get worse.
the mud pit.
Yeah.
Well, and without using general fund money, I think this is.
We don't have-
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we
But
don't
you're right,
have it,
yeah,
but yes,
yeah, you're right.
we would never be able to.
Yeah.
I mean.
We're
long
kind of blessed
project.
with, most cities, all inland cities. I mean, even Rockport doesn't have the capability, or they don't have the ability by state law to use hot tax on parks. I mean, we're one of the only cities. I mean, it's a handful of coastal communities. It's us, Galveston, South Padre, Surfside that have the ability to use hot tax on their community parks. So, I mean, this is a huge bonus that we're allowed to do because, you know, if you go to the city parks in College Station, they're being used by locals. When you go to the city parks in Port Aransas, they're being used by not only locals, but also a heavy hit by tourism. So that's why the state ledge gave that to us. I don't know, they gave it to us about 30, 40 years ago, that ability. And I'm not sure which cities got that in the ledge, but I'm not sure Port A was in on it. Maybe we were, but we're thankful for it. And it's a tool that allows you guys to really make our parks the best in the state and use that hot tax.
I'm a yes on the straw poll.
Thank you.
I mean, do we need a motion, you think?
Nothing official on my end. We'll see you back in November.
Forward with.
Okay, we'll get
The
with you
next-
between now and then if we want to tweak.
I think we make a quick motion. Just
To move forward.
direct staff and our bond team to come back to the November meeting with a what would the resolution be called?
The notice of intent.
Yeah.
Notice of intent.
Yeah.
And intention.
Not an action item, but you can.
Well, it's not an action item, but I mean, you can make a motion
Just
for it.
to
Yeah, direct.
Yeah,
forward and direct staff.
yeah. Just make it a little bit more official.
I make a motion to direct staff to come back at the next meeting. Next meeting or November?
November meeting.
November meeting with an intention to move forward with the hotel obligation bond.
I'll second.
Understood.
Good job.
All right, there's the first and a second. Any other discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilor Whitney,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank
you,
you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Port Aransas. Come back soon.
Yes.
Hope y'all have time for dinner before you go back. All right, item D, discuss and take possible action on the alternative parking plan for 315 South Allister, Suite 101. Applicant Melissa Carey, Island Salon, property location 315 South Allister, Suite 101.
Hello. Hi. So our applicant was not able to be here tonight, but I can present this on behalf of her. So this is going in, actually has already gone into the old Steve Jewelers building. That's still how I refer to it, even
Right.
from before the hurricane. So this is in an older, and I'll use the term loosely, strip center, owned by a gentleman in town named Joey Groff, who is an old school Port Aransas person, has been here longer than some of our ordinances have existed. And so sometimes we struggle to get him to do things properly. So he allowed Melissa to move into that location and to open up. Said that he had taken care of everything with the city when, of course, that was not the case. So we stopped her. She was doing some work. We had her get it permitted. We talked to her about the fire marshal. We did not want to close her down prior to this coming, before P&Z and city council. So we discussed the alternative parking plans with her. She is only open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So with the alternative parking plan, you can have a shared parking agreement in a strip center where you've got kind of different times that businesses run. So the main business in that shopping center is a bar, which they do open before 4 p.m. But like bars, most of their business is in the evening and would be opposite of this. So we told her that we would make the argument for, shared parking agreement that way. We also asked her to reach out and to see if she could find any offsite locations that would offer her parking. The hotel across the street, America's Best Value Inn, has 35 parking spaces where they're only required to have 30. they have agreed to allow her to use the front 4 during her times of business that Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 4. So with, you saw her letter in here with the parking plan that they have there on site. Historically, they've always used parking that's behind the bar. That is also considered off-site. So I wanted to kind of clean this whole thing up and include that in the alternative parking plan that we are approving there. They are required to have 28 spots for every use that is within that location. In the plan that you guys have shown, they are showing 32. Some of them are subsized, smaller than what we require by ordinance now. So I gave them 30 that they did have there on site. That also includes the 4 across the street. So a total of about 12 off-site with the remaining all on-site. Planning and zoning reviewed this at their previous meeting and voted unanimously to approve.
So the 28 includes based on all the businesses that are in that.
Correct. Red's location would need 4, I'm sorry, 16. The tattoo shop would need 4. The bike and the vape shop would each need 1. And then her salon requires 6. She's got 3 chairs there. And that's kind of another argument that we could have with salons. Right now, for every salon chair that you have to have 2 parking spaces. In situations like hers, where they're just appointment based, you don't really have that drive-in, park, walk-in business. Most salons here in town are like that. They don't really have, a heavy walk-in business. It's more appointment based. So you don't have that number of people parked there like you would in,
You can
at a
only do
Super
one
Cuts in Corpus
person at a
Christi.
time.
That's right.
You can only do one person at a time.
Exactly.
What about the other restaurant that's on the other side of the bar?
So that's included with the bars count. We included them. They're actually part of Reds.
They are part of Red's.
Yes,
Okay, I thought
and
they
so
were
we've
separate
included
businesses.
I don't know if they run them separately, but when they came to us to build that, they did make it part of Reds. Their seating is both outside and inside Reds. We counted that in Reds requirements.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions? So in the future, when some tenant in that whole area changes, then based on the use, would change their parking designations, correct?
Good.
And this
I
has
mean,
changed
Yeah.
quite a bit. A
Right.
lot of different places have gone in there. This is the first time that we've ever had a place that has taken place of another place that requires more parking rather than less. The tattoo shop, the bike store previously were a Chinese food restaurant, if you guys can remember that far back. And so with that went from that restaurant to a bike
Thai.
store. It was
Yeah,
good too.
yeah.
Went from that to the bike store, that parking requirement was reduced, which is why we didn't have to come for any kind of alternative parking plan. This went from a retail establishment that only required 3 parking spaces to a salon that required that extra, which is why we're coming forward with it
So
now.
the tenant didn't know they only had 2 parking spaces. Were they ready to sign for this?
The tenant thought that she had 3 parking spaces. She was not aware that she needed 6.
And she only has 2.
So again, this is, if you guys remember when we did the Palm Social and the Bernie's kind of alternative parking plan, we don't look at it as any individual use on that property. We look at the whole property altogether. So we don't, in our eyes, we don't say these 2 parking spaces are for the salon. These 2 are for the bike shop. We look at the total use of everything and then add up the parking spaces accordingly.
Yeah, she has 4 across the street. at the
Correct.
hotel.
She's got 4 across the
It's
street.
nice of them too.
I'm sure it came with some free
Yes.
haircuts or something.
Well, yeah, our family had a restaurant back there and they've always had a parking problem. We used to we paid
remember that.
IGA, yeah. I mean, these girls are trying to make a living and
Yeah.
if they're like my salon, hardly anybody's all there at the same time anyway.
Yeah,
so
and we've monitored this. This has been a couple of months now, and so we've monitored it
No.
during her times.
it's not been a problem.
There obviously is, parking situation there that's difficult. I don't think that she's adding any more
Right.
to it than, the retail establishment that was there previously.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for working with her and the property owner to
Yeah. Find
fix
an
their parking
alternative.
situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult spot, you know, with these older locations, it's definitely tricky.
So we
Okay,
just need
any
to
other discussion?
Approve this, yeah. I'm gonna make a motion to approve this.
I'll second. Okay. All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Fran, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Whitten,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. All right, item E, discuss and take action to appoint members to the Library Advisory Board.
So I had a question. It says seeking reappointment. There's a check mark by Rick Kolke and one by Mary Lynn Tenen. But not by Carol Lee Kreider. Is she seeking reappointment? Because her information was in here.
She is seeking.
Okay, all right. I was just making sure because her name was here, but I wasn't positive.
Okay, so as indicated by Councilmember Chambers, there are 3 spots that are up for reappointment and or open spots. So Rick Calkey's in place 1, Carol Lee Kreider in place 2, and Miss Tenen is in an alternate position in place 6. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 applicants, and I'm assuming that hasn't changed since we got our packets. So we have 3 spots, 2 full-time, 1 alternate for 6 candidates. Any of those candidates that are here, if you'd like to come and speak on your behalf, you may.
Nope.
Okay,
Anybody?
always want to give someone the opportunity to do that. So as other board appointments in the past, someone can make a nomination per slot. You can make a nomination per slate. Would like to open the floor to nominations.
I know this one was hard because there's a lot of good candidates in here.
I like that there are some new
I
young
do
volunteers,
too.
willing volunteers. That's really nice to see.
So with that being said, I am going to make a motion to approve Rick Kolke in place 1, Carol Lee Kreider in place 2, and Aubrey Boer as the alternate.
Okay, there's a motion for that slate. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, we'll move on then to item F. Authorizing the rejection of a bid received for RFP 2405, Roberts Point Playground Landscape and Irrigation at 301 J.C. Bar Boulevard in the amount of $155,000, and authorizing city manager to re-advertise for bids for the Roberts Point Park Playground Landscape and Irrigation Project at 301 J.C. Boulevard. Bar Boulevard.
I think she thought she had a little more.
Where'd she go?
I'm thinking about her.
Well, I think we can just wing it.
So we thought we had a couple bids come that didn't make it in, but we think we can do better. This one came in way over bid and it was the only bid and it came in about triple. And we think we can do a lot better. So the city has the right to reject any and all bids. So staff's recommendation, scrap this bid and let us go back out.
Okay.
And
Okay.
bring you back something way cheaper.
That was my
Oh,
question.
there's Colleen.
Was,
Yeah.
Did you already get?
You're out wandering around.
no, we're on F, your
We're on
item.
F. We're good.
No,
You're good.
sorry, no pressure. And Dave's already done the whole summary,
A
so.
little.
Oh.
But we
Okay.
want the bid, not them.
bid.
Just the bid's a little high. and
So-
We think we can do a lot better, so we want to officially reject it.
You know, it's okay. So that was my question, because that what information wasn't in here was, what was the original estimate? What were we hoping the bid would come out to be?
I was hoping for, do I want to say this? Because we're rebidding, so I don't
Well,
want to.
no, that's like saying the engineers.
Yeah, like an
We're-
engineer's estimate.
Our staff estimate
Because we
was,
go,
we had budgeted for 40. and
That's
I
my
knew
question.
It was gonna come in
Okay.
higher than that.
Okay.
And so we were anticipating,
But not
you know,
this high,
yeah.
not triple,
Okay.
Okay,
quadruple.
well,
so we've spoken to a few different landscapers. There was some strange circumstances. One didn't follow the proper instructions for submitting a bid. One had an emergency and couldn't get the bid in time. And then there's a couple others who have expressed interest. So I'm anticipating when we go out to bid, seeing much more competitive qualified bidders come in 2 weeks.
Okay.
this won't delay our project, will it?
It's not supposed to.
Okay.
Okay. So we need to get on it, right?
The play equipment is what is setting the timeline.
Yeah.
So this, with a 2-week turnaround, we should still be in good shape.
Okay,
I apologize for being late on that.
You're
item.
fine.
that's okay. All right, any other questions for Colleen
No.
or David? Okay,
I think it's crystal clear. Okay, I will make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the rejection of the current bid and permit the city manager to re-advise the RFP.
No second.
Re-advertise. not
Thank you.
advise.
okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Krieger,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitney,
Yes.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, first reading, amending chapter 18, Public Places, Property and Services, Article 8, Public Parks, Division 1, generally, Section 18/240 in general, Section 18/241 Parks designated, Section 18/242 General Rules, Section 18/243 Prohibitions, and Section 18/244 Park Hours, and providing for severance reading and effective date.
Okay, so it had been a little while since the ordinance pertaining to parks, rules and prohibitions had been updated. And so we took the opportunity to bring it up to date with all of the new sites that we have and then some new issues that have come about. As time has passed, new technology has caused us to have to, reconsider. So in the packet is the marked up version. At the dais, you have the clean version that would be what we were recommending for approval tonight. So depending on what you'd like to look at, the marked up version can be a lot. I'd like to just kind of scan through it and let you know what was wordsmith and just kind of reorganized and what is a real change that we're introducing to you. This has been through the Parks Board and the Nature Preserve Advisory Board. So this is their recommendation as well. So starting in the general first paragraph, we reorganized. There was an item that just referred to our Brazilian pepper tree management. We added in the open space master plan with subsections for the nature preserve and the Brazilian pepper tree management and prescribed to burn. So that was just kind of an organizational change. We updated community park amenities to fit what is currently on site. Like there's no more inline skate park, it's our pickleball courts. Moving on, the rest of it is just site updates with addresses. Some in the old ordinance had addresses referenced and some didn't, so we've updated those. Updated amenities at Roberts Point Park, added in Jerry McDonald Field and Old Town Square as those sites were not referenced in the previous ordinance. Moving into general rules, we already did this, that a special event permit would get you an exception to a rule if applied for and approved by the city manager. So we just added that to the ordinance to spell it out. The next item is about motorized vehicles. We're clarifying that they need to stay on the roadways and the driveways. And this is where a new discussion item comes in, is that we are making an exception to Class 1 e-bikes. We see them used out in the nature preserve trails very frequently. This was a heavy discussion item on the Parks Board and the Nature Preserve Advisory Board. But we felt like We want to make sure that our sites are accessible to all and being utilized by families and giving people experiences out there. And so the Class 1 e-bike is a pedal assist driven bike. So you have to be pedaling for the battery to kick in and help you get through the preserves. We've seen different demographics of people using those bikes to be out and about, maybe that wouldn't normally go to our sites. So we like that side of it. When you move past a Class 1 into Class 2 and 3, that has a throttle on the handle. They move much faster. There's the gas powered bikes. We are not including those. Those we still want to stay on the roadways and paved surfaces. They go a little bit too fast. They can tear up the trails. They can cause safety issues, and they can be noisy. So we just made the exception for the Class 1 e-bikes.
And
here.
that's typically what state parks and our national parks are also allowing. If pretty much if you have a bike, like a mountain bike, then they're allowing those Class 1s, but nothing greater.
Those kinds of facilities, what about our new one that you're building? Does it need to be mentioned in the Matthews?
The new, which one?
Old Town Square.
Yeah.
So that we listed.
Yeah, we listed.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
That made, yeah, that made the cut there.
Okay.
Old Town Square.
Making sure.
We added a rule in about trail closures. This is mostly pertaining to an adaptive management plan that we have for the whooping cranes. And occasionally there could be a need to close down a trail if it's observed that visitors are disturbing the endangered species. And so we might have to do a temporary trail closure in an area, or temporarily close a trail to bicycles if it's being if the cranes are being monitored and being disturbed by visitor activity. So that's why that was added in. And then there was a lot of discussion about the speed of these bikes, and it's not just the e-bikes, but the regular bikes. If people are hauling through the preserve and they're not paying attention to the pedestrians, it can cause safety concerns or just a conflict with user groups. And so we're using verbiage that Chief Stokes recommended that's used in state law. An example would be, on highway law, that when conditions don't permit you to travel the speed limit, you do what's safe and prudent. And so we borrowed that verbiage because we can't really enforce a speed limit. Your bike doesn't have an odometer. We're not going to be able to set up speed traps to say you were going 7 miles an hour, you were going 20 miles an hour on your bike. So this is a way to say, you know, you caused an unsafe situation. You ran some birders off the trail, or, you know, you weren't operating this in a way that was safe for the surrounding, you know, visitors. So that was the recommendation from our police department on how we would word that. Moving further in, just some wordsmithing. We moved the smoking to the prohibitions. We do have designated areas that you could smoke, and those are noted by or designated by a receptacle for disposal of tobacco products. But we moved that to the next
So
section.
you don't smoke fishing on the wall. Ever.
No, they're reserved to
The parking.
parking areas where there's a disposal container.
It also says you have to be 18 to take a 5-year-old to the park, which I mean,
Where is that?
well, it says visitors on the age limits, and it says parents or other responsible adult over 18 years of age must accompany and supervise children under 12 years of age. So if I had a 15-year-old that was taking my 5-year-old to the park, I would read that it maybe wouldn't be allowed.
That is how it reads. We did not change that. That's the existing ordinance.
And I mean, I know we're probably not going to send the police out to check IDs and harass people. And I understand
That one on there.
it's
It's
on
under
section
section-
18-242, and
Oh,
it's
18
number
242.
5.
5.
Yeah, number 5. So,
I feel like this is one of those tools that we
Where was
can
that?
use if the issue comes up, like there's kids that aren't being supervised that are causing issues and it's something that we can use. But it's not something that's being.
But that's, yeah,
16-year-olds want to go to the skate park, they're not allowed. Cause you gotta be 18. Oh, under.
No.
So but under
no, no, no,
12,
no.
so anyone
No.
over 12 can go to the.
but a
park by themselves.
16-year-old who's perhaps taking their siblings or their cousins or there's someone they're babysitting, like a 16-year-old cannot be babysitting and taking a 5-year-old to the
Playground.
playground, which might be a problem. I agree using it as a tool is a very important tool, but it's just something that stood out to me.
Yeah, that is a weird one.
You have ever had an experience where that needed to be enforced or was discussed?
We had it very early on when the skate park first came about and we were having tons of problems with kids from other cities coming in and causing problems with other kids that were trying to enjoy it, and we were having tagging and stuff like that. That's when we would go in and look at doing something like that. We're never gonna drive through there and be like, you look like you're 15. Kind of thing, you know.
Hello, kid you're with.
Yeah, that's not what it would do, but it would be perfect for situations like that, to where you have a group of kids that are coming in that are causing problems, that are displaying behavior that is not acceptable for the surrounding environment. You're able to go in and have something to use to remove them from the
Yeah.
situation, to take care of the ones that are being responsible and using the parks and things the way it's intended to be used.
This is also utilized as a pool.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's guidelines for, you know, kids not bringing other kids to swim.
So no, we haven't used it
Only
in a long
a long
time.
time.
We did use that as
Okay.
part of
In the
the.
beginning.
I just,
So at a
Yeah.
pool.
I think
where-
that probably
I know,
happens.
But at a pool where it is monitored, meaning there is an authority there, a 17-year-old cannot bring an 11-year-old. And
Yeah.
our pool employee staff knows that they have to send that person away.
They don't accept anyone under 12 without their
Parents.
parent.
Okay. So we're already doing that.
This is the first reading though, so if there is something that you want to change, I mean, this is the opportunity to do it. I don't have a recommendation for what I would change this to.
Well, we can think about this one and.
Yeah, particularly.
Next meeting, we can tweak it a little bit if we think we need to.
Because in thinking about that, I'm thinking about, somebody who, what if there's 3-year-olds that are going to swim lessons and a
They're
mother
being
like me has
babysat by
hired a
someone.
16-year-old to take my 3-year-old to swim lessons.
Well,
that
maybe
day.
there could be a caveat that says unless otherwise
Granted permission
granted
or
permission
something.
from a parent
Yeah.
or guardian.
Well, yeah.
I think that might be
would
good.
it, Yeah.
Something in writing. I mean, I just
So
something to think about.
in the prohibitions, and this is musical devices, this is the music stuff. So somebody can go out to the birding center and crank something up to 85 decibels, or even bring their drum sets for that matter, it says. And the decibels are measured at 100 feet away.
What'd you jump to? Where are you now?
It
The
is on
prohibitions.
section 18,
Yeah.
243, number
That's okay.
6.
2 pages ahead.
Okay, good, because I was thinking like, what were they thinking? You're
Okay.
out there with birds and somebody comes up and decides I'm gonna play a lot of music. Maybe not at 85 decibels, but are you allowed to break it down and say, like at the birding place, there's no loud music, or do you have to assign a decibel? I'm thinking we
You could probably designate quiet spaces or something like, I don't know if that's the right word, but like to his point, maybe around the birding
I mean, if you go to the
centers or the
old
nature
bird
preserve.
center back in there and listen to your music, 85 decibels is pretty loud, correct? I mean, for short-term rest,
Yeah,
for short-term
I think
stuff.
I think the best way to address this
But,
is
yeah,
to take the decibel reading out of that. We already have a noise ordinance and stuff that kind of covers, what is it? That disturbs the normal sensibility. There you go. I knew it was one of those with regard to. So I would recommend wording it something similar to that. That way you don't have that hard line that says, okay, you're at 84 decibels. And also, the 85 decibel measuring 100 feet from the source was in the rest of the ordinance is from the property line, right? So you don't necessarily, you're not gonna have that line of 100 feet, you know, where do you pick in that circumference of where the person is? Which direction do you go 100 feet to make that measure, right? So I think taking a decibel.
Well, if you,
that-
yeah, if you read the original thing, all music's
supposed-
it's already prohibited.
I think there's
All that 6 says was, or 5 says, use of amplified sound equipment to attract wildlife. That was what's prohibited.
well, stereos.
Well, no,
and
it's,
sound
yeah, but
equipment.
stereos, electrical sound and electrical sound, but it's all one sentence.
Right, but and the problem with that though is it pertains to amplified or like music that you play through some kind of electrical instrument, right? Like a speaker or something like that. It doesn't include, like if I went out there with my drum set or a guitar that is acoustic or something along those
Yeah.
lines and created something. You don't have the amplified portion of that covered with that one. So I think if you take the decibel reading out of that one and just kind of leave it to.
Yeah, but the problem is that this is 2 things. You can address a guitar, but now we've also allowed electrified music. Whereas in this one, it's prohibited, right?
Well, so our intention, and the wordsmithing probably needs to change, but the intention was, we don't have any amplified anything out there. So
Yeah.
there's no speaker system, there's no electric
Right.
guitar. And if there is an instrument allowed, it needs to be under 85 decibels. So if a ukulele player wants to go sit on a bench in the park, it's okay to do that. If a guitar player wants to play
Yeah, so
at
we
the
need to
memorial service in the
reword this
pavilion,
one then.
that's okay.
I
So
like the parks being quiet.
Yeah, so one thing that happened in the nature reserve is a guy literally brought his drum kit and set it up in the pavilion.
There's always that guy.
And
I'm telling you.
so.
Like a rock jump crit?
Like an
Yeah.
entire, like
whole
he
trap
was
set.
hitting
Oh
all.
my
the-
gosh.
And then we told him that he couldn't because and then when we went back and read this for like,
It only addressed amplified.
yeah, but he actually said we ruined his vacation but I mean, it was kind of a crazy situation, but it was extreme. And then the wildlife was looped into this, so we separated that out. So this is about noise and then the
Okay.
attraction of wildlife is somewhere else, but, so.
You've done this through experience.
Yeah, it
Yes,
was,
yeah.
so it might seem weird, some of these things listed, but that was why.
That's
so we
why
can
the
change it,
wording.
But that was, want to make sure that.
That is captured to where we have
Okay.
the ability to stop that kind
I
of.
see that
behavior.
you did have the word drum set.
I
Makes
like
sense.
no music. And then if at a park, there's an event or special
it would be
permit,
a special event permit.
and when somebody's gonna play music, they got a permit, city manager says, yes, at Old Town, you can have a concert, but I don't, unless there was a concert in the nature preserve, nobody's ever had anything like that.
Right, so we need to just scratch through that exceeds 85 decibels, 100 feet from the source.
Thought maybe we
So it just
wanted
says,
nature preserve,
use
they
of
wanted to
musical
scare
device or sound equipment, stereos, amplified musical instruments, drum sets, etc. Blah, blah, blah.
But I mean, like if Dale, if you want to go out to the pavilion and play your harmonica, are you not gonna?
But a harmonica is not even close to 85 decibels.
Yeah.
Well, but if we take 85 decibels out, it just says you can't go out there and play your harmonica.
No practicing the
Right.
As long
ukulele.
as you're
Yeah.
not interrupting, if you're not bothering somebody 10 feet away from your music.
Doesn't say that. You
I
want,
know.
I mean, to me, the
I'm
nature
fine.
reserve has a different set of rules than
Yeah.
Roberts Point Park.
I believe.
You should have a guitar at Roberts Point Park. Maybe the nature reserve, you don't need to
Yeah,
be
but
out
they
there
have
strumming away, but
concerts.
there's no reason you
Most
can't
like
have
also play
an
music
acoustic
on their
guitar at
phone
Roberts
or-
Point.
Yeah.
Strumming away on some Willie Nelson song.
That's
or
it.
your harmonica,
Yeah.
or your flute,
Yeah.
or your whatever.
I think we need to, I think we probably need to relook at the language, but also kind of read the spirit of the law and the letter of the law, right? To where
Yeah.
if you have it included in there, doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna go out there and start writing tickets to somebody that shows up and that isn't doing something that is not reasonable.
I think at one point, we did have the nature reserve had its own rules. And then we had like a whole bunch of different rules and we combined them.
Yes.
This is what I'm recalling. I think we need to separate them back out.
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Colleen's
Dave,
definitely-
you're getting the stink eye.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
The problem is that Roberts Point and the nature reserve are just so different.
Yeah.
You're, we're trying to kill two birds with, oh, I should say that.
With a guitar and a
With the
drum.
harmonica.
Just got Worcester.
Okay,
Okay, so if we're gonna separate them out,
Or at least,
Clean it up.
or for that one, you just say, all music and sound is prohibited in nature preserve. However, at the other parks, blah, blah, blah can be used. So
I think we should protect it.
we'll fix it. Second read.
And then
What
the
if
other
I'm sitting out there and I want to listen to another quiet song on my
heads,
phone?
that's what we got. That's why I make
Headsets.
earpods.
well,
or
that
iPods,
is
whatever they're called.
True.
it is a situation because on the beach, it happens a lot. Like
Right.
you are on the beach and someone pulls up next to you and is blasting,
Right.
you know, not your style of music. It is annoying. If I was out there trying to view birds and listen to birds and
True.
somebody comes up
That's
playing
true.
music on their phone, I would
Then you're-
give them
yeah.
a stink eye.
There you go. They need to put their headphones on.
just did.
Well, then maybe we
Rightfully
need
so.
to.
We'll fix it.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
all right. Well,
Did I miss
amend that
anything?
one.
Because we skipped a little bit. Smoking.
So we currently, so I noticed the drone,
that's
so
another new
that's new, right? The
technology,
drone,
yes.
okay. Is that a problem or is
So
that
it
more
can be-
secluding?
It can be a problem for those nesting birds.
Mhm.
So the designation that we just got, those birds are out in the middle of the flats with nothing around them and a drone flies over and they think it's a hawk.
That's not.
And so it'll flush them. So they leave their nests or they waste energy where they should be
Okay.
foraging. And so it can really disturb wildlife. Whooping cranes, you know, photographers get really excited and they want to get a great shot and they don't realize that they're
Mhm.
harassing things and it leaves, you know, we are allowing access on the trails. And so we have control over where you go because you're on the trails. The drone then has no boundaries.
Right.
So they can apply for a special event permit if it's some research that we're trying to do and it's done responsibly. There's definitely room for benefits of drones. But we don't want everybody who has a drone out in the nature preserve flying around.
And then the one you got, not the cleaned up one,
Mhm.
you had use or possession of alcohol beverages. So you can't take beverages to Roberts Point Park when you're fishing and sitting out there.
That is technically not permitted, and that's how the ordinance originally
Which one's that one?
read.
7. You can't go into any parks. But nobody ever goes into Roberts Point Park with alcohol.
No.
Okay.
Unless
All
it's
right.
with a
Okay.
special event permit,
Okay.
and it's one of
People that come
those-
down and fish all night sitting on a pier, Roberts Point Park, they got no alcohol. In Old Town, you can't go to alcohol, you cannot go. I don't know, I'm just asking because I read it in there.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, there you go, yeah. You're at a wedding or an
Okay.
event.
Big brother. Okay, I just, do we put up signs that say no alcohol when people enter so they know they're not in trouble?
We don't have a Roberts Point Park rules sign posted. At the skate park, it is posted.
Well, that's for our kids. We don't want them drinking alcohol.
At the pool, it's posted. So there's different areas where.
the
we list
baseball
our
fields is
rules.
posted,
It is.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yeah.
I mean, we understand with the kids. thing, but-
right?
Okay.
I think it should be allowed at Roberts Point.
So would you exclude the playground though? Would you
Now,
say?
Right, do you want grandpa sitting there with his kid knocking a 40 back?
Wait till your grandpa and you'll.
Yeah, there's a
You'll
soccer
answer your
field there, so I mean. I think
It's a valid point. I mean, I mean, maybe you want to go out to the nature preserve with your glass of wine and
That'd
watch the
be cool.
birds.
Watch sunset.
You're saying.
If it's in a Yeti, no one's.
No glass.
It is not unusual to see that. I've been to
Well,
multiple
yeah.
parks across the whole country where it says no alcohol allowed in parks and sometimes it's posted and sometimes it's not. So I think it's probably a tool.
Exactly, yes.
I agree.
Thing, because I mean, obviously in this day and time, if you don't state some or have a specific purpose stated somewhere, it's hard to initiate it. Whereas if you have it, you can manage it on a case by case basis. Pretty much.
When it warrants enforcement because an issue has come up, it's a lot better to have it than not.
If you, a lot of times, if you don't have it in writing, right? If we want to tow, we can't tow unless it's got a sign that says you have the intent to tow. So kind of the same thing.
So no drones during fireworks.
Well, you'd have a special event permit.
Just make sure you.
Oh, if it was
allow-
But the drone
drone
operator
show.
wouldn't have it, right?
No, I mean, like at our fireworks, there's always these annoying
No,
drones.
there's
that
a
are,
million
like,
drones.
Right.
They're everywhere.
flying around through the fireworks and.
And I mean, there's
Show
a
turns in.
safety
Is done by drones.
element to
There will be.
not knowing who's flying a drone over a crowd of people. And I mean, there's
But that's.
regulations that the drone pilots are supposed to be following.
Right, they have
They're
their
not
own
supposed to
steps.
be flying
Right.
over large audiences of people in public. And so these folks are, you know, hobbyists that aren't necessarily licensed pilots and it shouldn't be doing that.
All right.
All right.
The watercraft,
Yes.
I saw we got very specific about certain watercraft.
Based on experience of seeing things in the nature preserve. This is so we can have the help of Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Mhm.
They can go out and get the TX numbers off of something if it's within the nature preserve boundaries that our police department doesn't have the capacity to do, and then our police department can use the observation or the evidence of TPWD to issue the citation on behalf of the city. So it helps strengthen up, you know, the airboats and the skiffs and kayaks and the fishermen that get to parts of the nature preserve that we don't have the ability to enforce and kick out on our own.
Okay.
And I think the only other real changes of note were standardizing hours of operation. There was some locations lacking, and then there was a lot of detail at the community park. The walking trail around the ball fields was specified that opens at 6, but then everything else opens at 8. And I don't know that that's necessary to have that difference
Mhm.
anymore. So we suggested everything opening at 6 AM until 10 PM unless permission is given through a special event permit. And then at the nature preserve, the goal is to not have folks out there at dark. And so the nature preserve is stated differently.
Dawn to dusk.
Yes.
Does this still include your, giving you the ability to lock the gates when you want to?
At the nature
At the-
reserve,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I mean, they, yeah.
So you're lining off Charlie's pasture, which people know, but they gotta know it as the Port Aransas Nature Preserve.
Technically, the nature preserve is an umbrella term that should cover all of the birding center, wetland park, Charlie's pasture, north and south,
Right.
Paradise Pond.
And there's signs there, that's it. So that.
Yes, on the entrance signs, it says dawn to dusk.
And number 5, Jerry McDonald Park, you're going for a Parks and Recreation 6 AM softball league.
I just wanted consistency.
Okay, good.
I
I
didn't
was
want
just
to pull
checking.
out one location.
They didn't want the
with different
police officers to be
hours.
like, okay, what are the towers?
Yeah.
Have a cheat sheet.
You need to check that out. If anybody's playing softball,
Oh.
leave at 6 AM. They're dedicated ballers.
Okay, so did you get all those suggested changes? That was a lot for us to.
So I have removing 85 decibels and using the word normal sensibilities under the sound section. And I have adding the permission of a parent or guardian to the age restriction. And those are my main notes. Was there anything else?
Well, the sound one, we're gonna tweak a little bit more than just the.
Are you allowed to use the word offensive music, or is that wrong?
No.
Because it's all art.
It's all subjective.
Freedom of speech. I don't know.
Around children too? You just call it art?
I mean, what are you getting
If
at?
it's like expletive,
Offensive, you mean dirty words?
yeah.
Can't use
Dirty
that.
words to who?
Well, to 6, 7-year-olds. 8-year-olds.
Well, under this ordinance, if it was amplified
Okay.
sound out of a stereo or something like that, it would not be allowed, right? Okay, with the amendments to age and the sound, everything else was
Very nice.
acceptable?
Good job.
Okay, thank
Lots of
you.
work.
It
Good
is a
job.
lot. There's a lot to think about on that.
Thanks for working.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
With the amendments discussed today, I'll make a motion to approve the first reading, amending chapter 18, public places, property and services, article 8, public parks division 1, general section 18240 and general section 18241 parks designated. Section 18242, general section 18243 prohibitions, and section 18244 park hours, and providing for service reading for the effective date.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Whitney,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item H, presentation from Broadus and Associates on Hurricane Harvey recovery. Rob, welcome to the meeting.
Evening, council members. We'll start, I know you have a information packet in front of you. We'll just go in that order. Public safety building is coming along very well. The windows are 100% done, all caulked in and everything. The roof is done. Stucco is about 99% done. So we're on schedule, trying to get them done by no later than Christmas. I have a financial interest in that. I have a bet with Darla.
Mm.
If I lose that dollar, I might have to come see you for a quick loan before
Oh,
Christmas cheap, but it's going well. No safety issues, anything like that. The fire station, good news. I don't know if y'all heard it. I think it's in the packet. Finally settled on the arbitration for $2.9 million. So that's pretty good considering what it was before and what we're getting now. So $2.9 million settlement. And the big news is the slab started at 2 o'clock this morning. Was I found out 610 cubic yards.
that's
So 65, 66 trucks, something like that. They had 2 pumpers out there, which is a little unusual. So they meant business. And they were done by lunchtime. They'll test it, 7-day test, and start taking the forms off, and they'll start going vertical. A little bit more concrete to do. So you'll see a few more trucks the next week or two. The concrete in front, the steps in the porch, and the generator pad. But generally speaking, the slab is huge and it's very thick, much bigger than the PSB, much bigger slab. I hope you'll have slab envy, but it's a big building. Thick, but thick. It's gonna be fantastic. So no issues with the fire station. It's trucking along. The gas distribution system, we had logistics several months ago with meters and risers and all that. That's been solved, and they've been trucking along. No safety issues. And as you noticed, they're kind of in the busy older part of town recently, and it's going to pretty much stay that way till they're done. Little stuff on 361. Nature Preserve and Boardwalk. I think your packet said there was an ADA inspection tomorrow that did that today. There's one little area they got to redo. The granite. I was wondering how the wheelchairs and stuff. They put a liquid in the granite, so it makes it hard. And there's one little area that's degrees off a little bit. Emily came by, the inspector, and redoing that today, re-rolling that today or tomorrow. That'll be done, and that will allow them to start getting stuff out of there, like the big humongous pallets that are way back there. They're gonna start pulling those out next day or two. Talked to them, and they said there's gonna be no issues being out of the wetlands by the end of the month, which is required by the permit. And after that's done, they'll be cleaning up, and there's about 1,000-foot sidewalk they're gonna pour from the pavilion through the blowout area to the beginning of the trail. But that'd be at the end, and they won't be in the wetlands then, but that's going well. No time issues with that. So I imagine next month might be the last brief on that. Public Works Garage, that's still in the design phase. We had a meeting today with Turner Ramirez Architects. And doing the final tweaks, David and Doug and Lawrence and everybody are getting the final tweaks on the building. And they said it's gonna be no problem getting the 90% design done by 1 November. That's their requirement, and they say they'll meet that. Big thing about the Public Works Garage is it's gonna go out for bid first week of February. So hopefully we can get a good bids and get a contractor going on that by the end of February. And as you can see, we received $81 million plus $5 million from EDA, so that's 86. So we're pushing $90 million now. Pretty soon we'll be well over $100 million in recovery monies. So pending any questions, that concludes my brief.
Great job. Thank you very much, Rob. Right, item I, resolution approving a lease agreement with the Port of Corpus Christi Authority of Nueces County, Texas for a tract approximately of 4.33 acres more or less of submerged land and upland known as Charlie's Pasture Pier for a 30-year term beginning October 31st, 2024 to October 30th, 2054, setting terms and rent amount annually for said lease agreement and authorizing city manager to sign contract agreement and providing other matters relating to said contract agreement.
So just so in case you didn't know, the city right there, that piece of dirt, we have leased this from the port for the last 40 plus years. That pier used to be a county pier originally, and then when it reverted to the city took over a lease from the port. It was a 5-year lease, and we would always forget it, and then it would be unleased, but then we would lease it back, and then finally we just after we started getting along a little bit better the last year or so, they came to us and said, hey, let's cut out the 5-year and let's just go to 30. So that's the acreage right there. We did have them add to the use language park use. So if we want to move forward with our coastal park design, it's already pre-approved in the lease. So that'll help us out there. So staff's recommendation is to approve it. What's that?
If something was to happen with the lease, so in other words, what we're talking about here with the development, how would that impact all of this? And what
Say that again.
this area that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Up here, and then
Yeah.
this plan that we're
Right.
talking about with the overall scope of the 8 million project.
Yeah.
Something happened with this piece. We didn't renew the lease. Something happened with that piece. What could possibly happen?
Well,
It
you
could
would,
impact
I mean,
the future of this.
worst case scenario, you lose that little piece of your park.
They maintain, but we go in, let's say something happens, we spend all this money, make this all really nice, and then all of a sudden.
Be no different than Roberts Point or Dennis Dreyer Marina that we've spent.
No, I get you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a risk you take.
And it's just a one-time payment for $10
Yes.
upfront. So basically we're leasing that property for $10 for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not allowed.
What's that?
Not allowed.
They're not gonna go out.
I'll go for $10 for 30 years.
I make a motion to approve the resolution approving the lease with Port of Corpus Christi. The tract of land, 4.3 acres. Charlie's Pasture Pier.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Whitney,
Yes.
Councilmember Krieger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Right. Item J, adopting a policy prohibiting the installation or use of TikTok on city devices for use of that application for city official related business pursuant to Texas Senate Bill 1893.
Come on up, Fran. Help us out.
So Senate Bill 1893 requires cities to adopt a policy prohibiting the installation of those applications onto city devices. So that means any kind of phones, tablets. We already have taken action to prohibit that from being installed already from the bill when it first passed last year. So this just adopts that policy pretty much. Any question? It has been vetted by our city attorney. In the resolution, we did add the Texas Local Government Code in certain areas that refers to this bill. And then our PD, they can download the app if they need to for security reasons.
No TikTok though for everybody else, huh?
Exactly.
I don't have it.
Wouldn't have a clue how to get to it, but yeah. All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution adopting a policy prohibiting the installation or use of TikTok on city devices for use of that application.
A second. Thought you were done. Okay, any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford.
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item K, discuss and take action on rescheduling the regular city council meeting for Thursday, November 21st. Mayor Moore. I can't believe we're already here to November again.
Jeez.
But once again, our third Thursday of the month is going to fall right in the middle of the Port Aransas High School Marlin Classic.
That's kickoff day, right?
It is
It is.
kickoff day. So all of our Marlin teams will be playing, including selfishly my daughter and Chuck's
Senior,
daughter.
yes.
Yes, so I would like to not miss the game.
I don't want
So,
to miss it either.
Y'all have been very kind and have moved that meeting around to accommodate some of us who have children that still are in high school and that play sports. And I would graciously ask you to do the same for
We'll
this
go
year.
cheer.
Yeah, that'd be
Can we
great
just
to.
do it earlier in the week?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. So I think we need to think about staff and then
So
calendar. but
Wednesday, though, isn't Wednesday the
Parade.
parade? And
Mm-hmm.
what time is the parade over?
Well, the parade usually starts around 4:30 and it's not a 2-hour parade. So it would probably be over at 5:30, 6.
So we could do a 6 o'clock meeting on Wednesday or maybe 5 o'clock on Tuesday
Tuesday's good.
would be the easiest shift. Anybody?
I like Tuesday.
I'm
like
good with
Tuesday at
Tuesday.
5?
Good with Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday at 5, Chuck,
Yes, sir.
Dale,
Yes.
motion?
I make a motion to move the council meeting scheduled on the 21st to the 19th at 5 p.m.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none. Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford.
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you guys very much.
You're very welcome.
All right, item 7, city manager's report.
Okay, a couple items. Animal shelter first. I'll go over that. Let me. Yeah, I'll get over to the airport, which is our top. So airport is our top contender piece of land, and we will have our jurisdictional wetland determination in a couple months. And it's the airport, and the reason why is because the airport construction is kicking off. This month, we have our airport board pre-con meeting on the 29th, which is in a week and 2 weeks. So that's going to kick off, and that construction is going to impact that land, and most likely it'll all be non-jurisdictional. So Josh wants to wait until we get movement on that piece of dirt, which in turn, once the runway gets extended, this entire chunk will become non-jurisdictional. So that's where we're looking at what happened? Did I do
Go
something?
out again?
so.
What did I do?
I think it must have
No.
been plugged somewhere else.
Oh, wait, there, maybe that did it.
Well, imagine everyone knows what the airport is.
Yeah, okay.
We're all, yeah. Put that in, we can go over to the old paper over here.
No signal.
Put it in your brain. It's on the corner, southeast corner of the airport property.
Hmm. Where's Peggy?
I don't know, our spectrum was out. all
Anyway.
day. Yeah.
Anyway, so,
Yeah.
so the airport construction will positively impact the dirt that we're looking at. So we're looking at the strip on Piper Boulevard. Basically, if you imagine the hangars extending the hanger line down, and the shelter would go on the piece closest to, right as we showed before, but right there. We think it's a great piece of dirt.
Just in time.
Where you going?
Kicking some.
Did I hit something down there?
No signal.
I think we need to extend. Okay, go ahead. You can talk.
Okay, so,
We've got the visual of where you're
yeah,
talking about.
so that's the primo spot. That's the best spot. We got utilities there. We think it's got, the best visibility for people wanting to visit it. It's got it has the open space. I mean, all you're putting up with is an occasional plane, but we don't think that's detrimental. I mean, there's humans that live closer to the airport than the
Right.
dogs would be, so that's the best location. In the meantime, we've started the improvements to the existing shelter. So we got improvements we have the offices coming, we have it ordered. We have the engineer that's signing off on, we have to tie it down. So that's coming. We gotta do the electric. And then once we get that, and I was talking to Joe Ellen this morning, we have to figure out how we want to once we get the guys moved out and into the new building, what is the best use of the space that we're moving the guys out. So that'll be something that probably the board, we'll probably have to call the board up and get the board to chime in and get input from BJ and his team on how we want to use the empty space that the office will create. It's not a ton of space, but
No.
it's something.
But it'd be good for quarantine area,
Yeah.
like to keep them separated when they first
Yeah.
come in and everything.
So we should be seeing the building within,
Either by next Friday or the following Monday delivery.
yeah, so it'll come pretty quick. And then once we get it tied down, get the electric in there, we can get BJ and those guys moved out and then start working on some reconfiguration.
Super.
So that's kind of where we're at. And then it's like I said, when once the construction kicks off, we'll get it'll change things up at the airport before we go to the general land office for the permission end of the deal. So that's where that is. Beach Access Road B is fully underway. Dune permit is almost finished. It should be submitted to Nicole within a couple weeks, Chloe said. So that's coming. And then they've also kicked off design. And so we should have design into January. I think we'll be into January, early February, we'll be ready to go out to bid. So that's moving.
So November P and Z, maybe the Dune permit. Like
Yeah,
P and Z.
and then that, and that's like a 45-day process. It's not super fast because it's got to go P and Z. 60-day, but we'll be moving it along at the same time we start as design has already started, so.
Okay.
How long will that project take
To build?
to build?
Oh, I don't have my engineer here, but I think it's pretty quick. I mean, it's just flat and, I mean, it's got a little drainage in it, but it's a pretty quick build. I bet you it's 4 months.
Be good. I was just wondering.
And
if
there's
it would
nothing in
be
the
by
way, right? There's,
summertime or
there's,
close.
there's no homes in the way.
Right,
There's no,
true.
you're not coordinating with anyone or any building. So it's a pretty quick build, I think.
Can you give us an update on rec center plans and?
Yeah, Rec Center, I'll give you a quick update on Rec Center. We met, is Colleen here? No, she's gone. Colleen's gone. We met, what's today? Thursday? We met Tuesday with Rec Center. We pretty much have our 100% floor plan. We've dialed in all the exteriors, so we'll be bringing that to you guys next month to look at. But we're going to be going to design as soon as you guys give them the thumbs up on that. But it's moving along nice. We have pretty much our floor plan dialed down. We think everything fits really good. So we met Tuesday on it, and they'll bring all our edits back to their, every time you do a big change, you got to make sure you immediately take it to your AC guys and your mechanical guys and your plumbing to make sure it's going to fit and work the way it should. So once we hear back from the AC and mechanical guys on this last round, we'll be bringing you guys the final layout for kind of your last chance to buy in, and then we go to 100%. Then we go to 4 months of hard design. And so we should be, we'll have plans, well, I'm guessing late February, March, ready to go out to bid.
That's exciting.
And then what about the Civic Center and City Hall?
Civic City and City Hall are moving even quicker. Met with our architects 2 weeks ago, finalized the floor plan on that. So they're moving to 100% design docs. So January, we'll have 100% design docs on that too. Same with Public Works. So we got a lot, we're gonna have a lot of buildings kicking off, going out to bid January, February, March.
Okay. Any other questions for David? City manager related?
Oh, our lifeguard building too.
Okay.
That'll be at 100% right around January.
And where's that gonna be?
That one's kind of been on hold because we really need to get the fire station a little bit further along because they're really going to use it as a laydown yard. So it's kind of, Public Works and the lifeguard that are on each end of that block. We just have to, fire has to get further along before we pull the trigger and take all their space for, it'll just, you have 3 different contractors on that block. It's going to be a problem unless fire gets further along. So
I know the Civic Center is the one I get asked about the most about availability and when it's.
yeah, it is, and that's going to be a booger bear because one of the components in the Civic Center this wing is a beautification of the Civic Center, which there's not a ton in that. It's mainly like ceiling dressings. It's changing the ceiling out and the lights, make it a little bit more ballroom. Redoing kind of those covered windows that are those wooden blocks, redoing the stage, possible floor. We still haven't come to a final decision on flooring. So it's a quick makeup, but you're going to be shutting down the Civic Center for 3 months. And when's the best time? You got birding, you got Whooping Crane Festival in February. You have a lot of stuff in the summer. Fall is paved, so there's not a great window. Really, the perfect window is probably right at the end of pave, early October, and then you just, October, November, December, January, you try to jam and get it finished before Whooping Crane. So that's kind of the best time frame to do that. But because we can do the wings over here where we expand out on this side of the building. We can do a lot of that work and still have activities in the civic center. And of course, all the city hall side, you don't want to affect the civic center either. So it's just that it's when to plug in. We need 4 months. And I think October, November, December, January are the 4 best. Because really springtime isn't great. We start seeing early fishing tournaments. We have the high school kids are in there with their thing. You have the spring garden show, you know, it's just gets a lot of use.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? All right. I know Darla's not here
Yeah, Darla's
and we
not
just
here.
got the financials.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know how.
I can.
Chuck, you gonna go through it for us?
Through August, obviously, it looks like through the month of for the month of August, occupancy tax collections was
Yeah.
up 7%.
Yep.
And it looks like we're gonna end up the year at just under 4% compared
Yeah.
to previous year, which is really, that's pretty phenomenal considering what's going on everywhere else in the world. See here, I got my pages here, I think. Okay, the general tax fund sales tax comparison, it looks like through August, looks like we were down about 10%, but we're gonna finish the year at 0.38 above, which is, I mean, again, that's break even. So that's, in my opinion, I think that's really, really good. Monthly slip rentals, harbor slip rentals for the month, year to date are up 6%. The transient rentals are up 8%. And total registered golf carts through September, 6,083.
Wow.
So that's all she ever tells me. Usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
We'll give you a good report.
Thank you, Darla.
Hopefully as bad as I did last time.
You did great.
You know me.
Good job. Okay, any other questions regarding that? Comments? All right. Next up is our airport manager, Chris Shanklin. Please
up,
come to the
Chris.
podium, sir. Welcome. We're so excited to have you with us. Why he was here.
Dave touched a little bit on the airport. Thank you, Dave. Airport's up and running smoothly, no problems. We have been waiting on TxDOT, but finally October 29th, they're gonna start.
That's the
hopefully.
kickoff meeting.
That's the kickoff meeting. We'll see. We'll see how
Cool.
much progress we make. And then of course, I think Lawrence might be touching a little bit more on it. I'm not sure.
We'll let you have all the glory. Go ahead.
All the
Yeah.
glory.
You're here.
Yes, I'm here. Just a couple little things, like our fuel tank was redone last year. I think y'all know about that. And now we've hired out with R&R Petrol Services. They come every quarter and they change the fuel filter. They were actually here yesterday. So they come out every 3 months, change the fuel filter, do any touch-up paints because plastic rust in Port Aransas. So we have a lot of rust issues, but they take care of it. Everything was good with our check yesterday. Just a couple of little numbers, for like our overnight parking fees for last year, 23-24, the one we just finished, we did like a little over 15,000. And that was 752 planes for the total year. The year before it was 12,300. So it was up about $3,000. So we're collecting a little bit more. And in April of this year, we raised our rates. So hopefully we'll have some little bit more profit on.
So 753 plans.
752 planes overnight. That's not
okay.
including what landed.
Okay.
There's thousands.
Interesting.
There's,
Okay.
752 was just the planes that stayed overnight.
Okay.
Normally, if we have 10 or 15 planes stay a night, we probably have 40 or 50 fly in through the day, roughly. I mean, that's, of course, it's in the, oh yeah,
I
in the
didn't either.
winter, it's 5. In the
Yeah.
summer, it's,
Okay, that makes sense.
July
Summer.
4th, there was like 80, 85 planes in a day, so
Oh, wow.
a weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Chris, can I ask a question? So I know we have a lot of traffic, but is there so many in and outs because they don't have any place to stay? It's because their people are being dropped off and their pilots are going back somewhere.
Dropped off.
Okay.
We have place to stay is fine, but mostly it's people just come down here getting dropped off, second homes. I mean, a lot of people come down here over the weekends, like, was it 2 weeks ago? Was Columbus Day last week?
Yeah, last week at the holiday, yeah.
I texted Dave, I said, we were full at the airport. We
Yeah.
have 25 spots on the pavement and
Mhm.
15 extra. And we were full on at the pavement and 2 or 3 in the grass, I can't remember, just. And that was more than July 4th weekend, yeah, which is kind of crazy. And then we'll go a weekend when it's busy and there's 3 planes out there overnight,
Yeah.
so it just,
Yeah.
can't ever tell, there's they come and go. But yeah, no, it's fairly busy out there, I would say. And hopefully. we'll put on-
Yeah.
Chris, do you guys maintain the aviation lights?
Mhm.
Okay, I
I
see
do.
them early in the mornings.
Yeah,
Right. and they're
when I
maintained
took
well,
over,
right.
there were several that were out and I had a bunch of them replaced, except for, so on the west end, closest to the wetlands, those are all good. On the east end, we had a plane wreck, not when I was here, but before, and they ran over like 4 of them. But they're very expensive to replace, so I never replaced those in because we have a good number. It's just because we're gonna extend it and was trying to save the money. But there's still plenty of lights out there to, you know, if you can't see the end of the runway.
And the ones on the poles on the aviation, on the like 11th streets, the higher.
On the AEP lines or
Yes,
whatever,
sir,
I
I don't
don't
know.
handle those. I
Okay,
don't know
I'd be
who does.
curious.
I don't know who handles those.
Oh, you mean, no, he's talking about the big rotating beacon.
Oh, that,
No.
I take
No.
care of that.
No, I'm talking
No?
about
The red lights.
Yeah, the big
Yeah.
red lights. You ride down 11th Street at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh,
If you look
oh,
up,
On
those.
top of that, on top of the pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all there.
You mean the big ones that are on the Colorado River Authority poles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
The
LCR.
CR?
Yeah, I don't know who handles those. And if you'll notice, like on 11th Street, the big poles, the biggest ones we have run down 11th Street for a
Yeah,
while
that-
and then
yeah.
come up.
Right.
And they do that just for the glide slope and the glide of the airplanes to be able to have a little bit more.
I was curious who you did. They're always blinking. They're
Yeah.
Those got, those, I think those are Colorado River.
And they
Authority.
have to stay on.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Just for,
I was just curious who maintained. They do a good job.
no, I don't maintain those. I just, yeah. No, sir. And then fuel sales last year, 23, 24 and 22, 23. We were like 33,000 gallons last year and 34 2 years ago, so we're about in line, but. In 22, 23, 2 years ago was $200,000 worth. Last year it was a little over 162, just because price of fuel has come down some.
Yeah.
And we mark it up about $1 a gallon roughly. So our profits, 33 roughly. And then just our vehicle parking for 23, 24 last year was like 16.1. And then it's a little bit more the year before, it's like 17.7, so. They have a little bit coming in. And then hopefully we'll have another report soon after this meeting.
Do we need to get the street sweeper out there?
I've been talking to Doug about that
Okay.
quite a bit.
All right.
The street sweeper stays broke down, I think.
But we just fixed it.
Good, I've heard that.
Yes.
So I'm waiting.
Okay,
My
good.
turn is waiting.
All right.
That's all
Okay,
I
well,
got.
we'll get
Any
you
more
back out here
questions?
soon. So mark your calendar.
Oh, no.
Everyone's gonna get to rotate. No, more often
Thanks,
than not.
Chris.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, Mr. Catrona, it's your turn.
See, for the CBDDG Hazard Mitigation Drainage Fund project, that was the drainage infrastructure installed, still substantially complete. Minor repairs are left, it's just closeout portions. But in relation to that, phase 2 permitting is complete, final design is, I think, almost at 100. We're in between 90 and 100 at this moment. And we will be advertising for bid next month for phase 2 of the drainage project. Phase 2 will include some different areas. I kind of have that listed out in a description there, but it's a lot of outfall work. A lot of dredging, so a lot of material will be moved in this one. Community center, neighborhood park, band shell and 2-shade structure pads are poured. Structure pilings are going up. Framing is ongoing. Finalization of dune landscape ongoing. Grading mostly completed. Sidewalk along the parking lot is in progress. And arranging for reclaimed wood structure for the structures is underway. They're working with Corky on getting that secured. They are going to be submitting for closing one lane on Allister coming up for doing some work along the park right there, and additional some of the asphalt they're going to be replacing as well. So you'll see that lane closure coming up probably in a few weeks. Fire EMS station, the concrete was poured. They were working on that today. Looked good. The dumpster pad and transformer pad will be poured next, and then apron work will be coming after that. Gas distribution utility system project, 68% complete. They're still doing the same thing they've always been doing, making people mad. Now they pretty much, the easy thing to say on that project is they installed all the gas main. Now they're just going back and doing services. That's where you tie in from the gas to the actual units or each home. So that's what they're working on currently. Nature Preserve North Trail, that's at 79% complete. Boardwalk construction is complete. Wetland observation area and salt land towers are completed. Crushed granite trails completed. ADA inspection was done today. Finalization of that project is expected before the end of the month. The restored grant, the bids awarded and contractor documents were issued from the engineer to the contractor for the restored grant. Project estimated to start this December. Public safety building, it's still rocking and rolling. Rob touched on that. Various different trades still in there working, but expecting that to be finalized December, or at least substantial completion, where you can use the building and then you still have minor things left to do outside of that. Public Works building in design phase currently, plan to be put out for bid early 2025. Streets and drainage, Charlie's Pasture Pier parking lot's completed. Ross Avenue almost completed. They have just some minor work left to do out there still. They need to do the feeder streets that tie onto Ross. There's little strips of asphalt that need to be installed and some minor concrete work that needs to be put in where utilities were installed, stormwater drainage utilities. And then after that, striping and some clean work, but they were out there grading it today. Ross is nearly complete. Probably anticipate, I would say 99% completion by the end of next week, aka tying in those feeder streets should be done by the middle of next week. Underground utility installation for 9th Street is completed. They're still working on the alley behind the fire building and Public Works building. Utilities are going in currently. And the north and south ends of Whispering Sands have been milled and overlaid. And we are asking for a cost proposal to bring a little bit more of Whispering Sands into the project as well. We milled the south end up to Green Lantern, and we did the cul-de-sac on the north end, but we're now requesting for a cost proposal to take it up to Shabooey Sands. Take a look at that. Are there any questions on any of the projects?
Thanks for, I've noticed going through your report that you updated the original contract amounts and the change orders type. So anyway, long story short, I like looking at stuff. You got like 78.6 million original contract amount, change orders or adjustments so far per your reports about 1.4 million. So just over 80 million. Right now, that's a lot of stuff.
A lot of projects.
Yeah. Yeah, we got all those numbers updated, so.
And they all start in January. If they ain't started already.
Yeah.
That's not all of it.
Yeah, we got a lot that's gonna be kicking off. I mean, even this current budget, I'm going through and looking at all this. I need to talk with David about this year's upcoming things. We're gonna be taking on the community center and.
Oh, by May, we're gonna just be humming along.
Yeah.
What about the wayfinding? When are they gonna start installing some of that?
We met with them at the end of last week to kind of finalize different positions. We have not had a meeting since then. They're supposed to do some mock-ups to get back.
What about the entry sign to the city? What do we ever do with that? Nobody liked it.
No, we haven't. It's kind of stagnated, but it needs some attention. We got to figure out a new place to put it.
On the south end, coming into town,
Yeah.
not the signs here.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, down the other side.
Thank y'all.
Okay, thanks, Lawrence. All right. Nicole,
Thank you.
you're up. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Mine is short and sweet. We've had a busy October month as far as training goes. Everybody's kind of been in and out of the office via training, so had a lot of people do some new jobs and learn some new things while the others were out, which is nice. Building official is still doing amazing. He's keeping up with everything. He's still just the perfect fit for Port Aransas. So far this year, we have issued or are currently in review of 136 permits, which kind of puts us back to our pre-2021 timeframe, which I think is going to be our regular normal from now on. Short-term rentals are up to 3,039, with 5 still pending review by Laura. Laura has upped her inspection game now that the season is over, so she's done 160 inspections this last month.
Oh, wow.
And she'll just keep continuing that on. Very busy. Complaints in the last month on the hotline were 3. 2 of them were noise for the same location within like 3 minutes of each other.
Oh.
And the other one was parking, which turned out to not even be illegal parking. So the complaints for the year to date are 33. Code enforcement, now that we have the new software and we're tracking them, we can tell you that we've issued 34 letters out to people within the last month. That's just going to keep increasing because right now we're still not putting 100% into that program, but we're slowly getting to where every complaint that comes in is also being entered into that. Other than that, we're just chugging along.
Awesome. Great.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Johnson, you're next.
Also gonna be short. Call volume, it's it's pretty flat for previous years, 1,010 right now. In September, we did have a little uptick. It's 103, so 25 more calls than we did in August. So pretty busy little September. A couple times we had to use mutual aid because both ambulances were out in Corpus, and called Tri-County and they were out and they couldn't come. Had to call Corpus and they came. So it just one of those times. So that kind of elevated our response time. Of course, it only went up by 4 seconds on average, but we had a couple calls where we had to respond all the way back from the hospital to come back and have a couple calls at the same time. Our transports, there you go, 51. That's still 50% just about of our total call volume, which is kind of where we typically are, maybe a little bit higher. Bay Area is still continuing to be our #1 place where we go, 39 transports there, and then spread the love a little bit to the other ones. Let's see here. Other than that, a lot of just standbys and community events. We did a track meet standby and did Port Day days and then the Port Day chili fest or chili cook-off and then the pirate parade. Did some stop the bleed training. They do training every Monday over there at the pool. And so we continue to go over there and continue to train all their new lifeguards and everybody else that they need. And then it's a good refresher too. And then St. Joe's trash cleanup. So they did a big trash cleanup over there. It's a really cool event. I think was it Leslie Willett, Leslie? He put it on and just heck of a deal. Yeah, a lot of trash. And so they did good. We sent a crew over there just because of the amount of people that they're going to take. I think they took close to 60 people over there.
Oh, wow.
So it's a pretty good little deal. And then last month I missed the meeting because I was at the EMS World Expo in Vegas, and it's the first time we got to attend that, and it was one heck of a conference. And just see people from several different countries and all their different ideas, and all the latest and greatest techniques. So it was definitely worth it. It was a really good conference. So other than that, that's all I got.
What y'all do at the school today?
Today we did the fire prevention. Yeah. So this is fire prevention week, and so we brought in all my crew. We went over there and we just did fire prevention for actually pre-K all the way through 5th. And so we spent the whole day over there and gave out a bunch of stuff and did a bunch of demonstrations. We bring in a fire simulation trailer from San Pat County. And so Scott Marion is the fire marshal over there, and he brings it over and he puts on the class. And so we do an inside class and we take them out there, then we take them out and spray water and then go through the ambulances. And so a little bit of everything, but the kids love it and learn a lot of valuable lessons. Smoke detector month, so go home, check your smoke detectors. If you don't have one, call us, we'll get you one.
Good. Well, there'll be lots of report for October when you come back next month. Okay. Hello,
Hello.
welcome.
Welcome to your quarterly. report.
Yes, welcome to your
Oh, it's
quarterly,
quarterly.
yes,
Okay,
quarterly.
I wasn't
yes.
sure. So this is
Or we
lot
could
of
put you on monthly
synopsis
like
of-
Daniel and everyone
Well,
else.
some of the outreach stuff's from kind of last year, but we've been busy with land management activities. We had our prescribed burn, which ended up being about 98 acres in August, which was it was great, successful, no issues. We've been busy on the pepper trees. We've treated 21 acres just in the last maybe 6 months. And then I had a mulcher out last month working on some of the areas that are more accessible by land. So he also went over and mulched the IGA property. And then south of Palladium, now you'll see there's we had treated those pepper trees, but now they've been mulched. So it's, if you look over there, it does look different if you actually you know, think about it. So I drove by the other day, I was like, oh, wow.
Something's
You know, it just clicked. But so we're now some of those like the IGA property and then 67 acres and Charlie's on this side needs some more, will need retreatment. So I'm working on getting a contractor now to go out and do a few rounds of herbicide treatment on the just spot spraying exactly what's growing back. So that'll be happening hopefully all before it gets too cold while the plants are still growing. And then last year or this year so far, we've planted 120 trees and shrubs in the nature reserve. So
wow.
And then last weekend we had our tree giveaway. It was actually 400 trees. I have 500 here. I didn't realize. But we gave them all away by 11:45. They were all gone. It was amazing. And we used the Porch Street parking lot, which worked out great.
That's good.
Arbor Day came in and they sent a film crew. So they filmed the event. Did they ever film you guys planting? No. Okay. They went to several people's homes around Port A and either videoed them with trees they planted years before or videoed them planting. Actually, they came to my house because
Very good.
Karen Decker missed the assignment. She was supposed to wait for them and plant it while they came. And then it was already planted. So they came to my house. So I was one of those people. But
It's
it kinda,
appropriate.
you know,
Exactly.
put a little fire under us because it probably would have sat there for a little while. So so that was fun. So they're gonna have that on their website but they really want to still support South Texas. They want to keep supporting us because we were asking them about that, you know, with all these other natural disasters occurring, but they want to continue the support next year and have more trees to give away. So
Did you tell them we're gonna have a whole big park of trees that we need to
Yes.
get some maybe free trees?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe big planting day instead. So yeah, we've had last year we had a few school trips, civic organizations come through. I think I had about 275 people. Today, we don't often do this, but we went off site. I was at Fennessy Ranch all day.
Yeah.
Gretchen was there with her students, the 4th grade Port A. There was Port A, Seadrift, Woodsboro, Rockport, Tivoli. Anyway, that was Monarch Madness. So we taught the kids about butterflies, they had different stuff. So we reached about 150 kids and so that was pretty fun. We're looking forward for the Whooping Crane Festival coming up and we're just continuing all the same programs we've been doing. So yeah, we kind of touched on some of the projects, but so Paradise Pond, we've done a lot in the last few years. So tomorrow morning, please come if you can have the time at 10 a.m. To Paradise Pond.
Oh, yeah.
We've told people to park at the community park. So if you have the time, you can walk the trail if you haven't done that. But we're going to block off the parking spaces in the behind Wands. So if you guys need to just pop in, you can do that. We just, you know, people who have the time, we'd like them to take a walk. But we have Bron also lent us some golf carts, some 6-seaters, so we can drive people along the trail so they can see it if they're not able to walk as well. So yeah, everyone. The large audience that's here. But yeah, we wanted to wait till we kind of planted the area because it looked like a big sand pit for a while. And some of the people that helped start Paradise Pond are going to be here. So we already went over FEMA. Looking forward to the Restore grant finally starting. the restoration for the nature preserve of the blowout area, we're still waiting on the GLO to get a scope of work with the engineers. So, I don't know. And then also with the stabilization grants, I put that in here. We're, I guess, still waiting on a contract, right?
Yeah.
So they're just taking a very long time. But yeah, I don't know. And then that's just the things that we're planning to do, for this year. So that's all. You guys have any questions?
Exciting. Great report.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Chief Stokes, you're up.
Try to keep it short and sweet. So September, we came in, we had 2,900 calls, a little over 2,900 calls. 650 total charges filed in the municipal court and 34 total arrests. Animal control responded to 26 calls. They were able to adopt out 3 animals. They took in 8 animals and had 6 animals that were reclaimed by their owners. I tried to get my dispatch numbers in, but we had some problems trying to pull 911 calls and things. So we're working through trying to get some accurate numbers there. So hopefully next month you guys will start to hear some of what they do. I think letting you guys see that there's more to the police department than guys with guns going to calls. You know, we have a whole other couple of departments that do some really tremendous work as well. So there's the arrest stats there. I think the most important, or the thing I'm most excited about, is at the very end of this report, the 21 sworn positions that are filled, and we had 2 in background. We now have 2 that are on staff that are in training.
Awesome.
And we have 1 in background. So that's going to leave me with 1 position, hopefully to have that filled by the end of the year.
Wow.
We've gone to a couple of recruiting events and had some really positive outcomes from that. We have seen the quality of applicant that we've had coming in has increased tremendously. So I'm really excited about getting the staffing where we need it to be. This is the closest, I won't say it's too loud. Yeah, being full staff and that we've been in probably 8 years. So fingers crossed. Yeah, let's keep it going that way. So yeah, that's kind of where we are right now. Lots of stuff going on with the building. We're doing a lot of training. That has been kind of our big push for this coming year. All of our technology has come together at the same time. So if y'all remember, a year ago, we ordered laptops and radios and dash cameras and all of that stuff. Well, we ordered all of that stuff almost a year ago, and it all arrived within the last 6 weeks. So we're trying to implement all of that at the same time. So we've been having a steady stream of cars going over to the upfitters and getting fitted, coming back. So yeah, it's been fun.
It took a year. Wow.
Fun.
So yeah, my
Good.
Sparky's about to rub his bald head even shinier. He's having to deal with the building and everything else. So he's doing really good work. You guys got anything for me?
National Night Out was a success.
Yes.
Yes, that
There's a
was
lot of
nice.
people that were there. I thought
That
that was
was,
very
that,
nice.
that was a great event.
Good one. Yeah. They
For
did a
Sean
good
and
job.
Paula Jackson, they are
They did a great
rock
job.
stars at that stuff. They knock it out of the park every year.
Mhm.
The guy that Olin Kelly, he helps coordinate that on our end. He was in training, so he didn't get to attend it, but he put in all the work into it.
And
Didn't
didn't
see
get
any
to
of the
go.
payoff. But
It was
yeah.
nice to meet some of the officers I have not met before.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be out at Trunk or Treat, and then we're gonna
Oh,
have
yeah.
the golf cart running around with some dispatchers and people on it during trick or treat. So
Oh,
they'll get to
good.
say hi and meet some of them that way too. Dispatch likes to get involved in some of this stuff. They sit behind the radio console all day and don't really get to see people. They get to hear them, but so they like to get out and do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get. them
They
involved.
get involved in the costumes for sure.
Yes, oh, yeah. I like what.
I'm looking
EMS
forward to
does.
watching next week. See what
Yeah.
everybody, what EMS proposes, what the police department proposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be good and entertaining. It's good. Y'all do a good job.
I think they'll be a little more subdued than last year.
Ah,
but we'll see.
really?
We'll see. They haven't submitted for who's gonna do what,
Oh.
so we don't know.
Watch and see.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions for Chief? Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
I went to the night out real early. Yeah, because I had to go, I went to another neighborhood. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Okay. All right. Item 9, city council comments and items for future consideration.
Question, just so right. Being riding the bicycle, just riding the sidewalks, like right from Texas up towards the Island Motel. You have that drainage area that's over there on the side of those sidewalks. Who maintains that?
Okay, say it again.
So like you're going, the big sidewalk.
Yeah.
and it drops off and it's concrete drop off and it's got like a concrete ditch.
Oh, by the
It's like a
Dollar
drainage.
General?
Exactly what you're talking
And
about.
I just didn't know who maintains all that, cause it's.
Right by the Texan.
The culvert.
This
Yeah,
one,
big
Right
culvert,
by the
right.
Texan.
Retention pond.
Yeah.
Right, is that one?
Yes, sir. Just, well, it's the sidewalk going down right on the side. It's just like the drainage. So any of the, because there's just a lot of overgrown.
Yeah, that's ours.
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know who. It's just getting built up pretty good.
Yeah, I'll
I
have,
know we don't have any rain and you got to worry about any water.
no, I'll have Doug's crews get on it. They've been dealing with, street crews have been dealing with the tire pile for the last
Oh, my God.
month and a half. So they finally got it down to 0.
Oh, wow.
Which was a huge lift. So I'll have them. They're hitting the highway right now pretty hard. They're mowing, trimming, and then they're gonna be coming back and doing all the little tufts of weeds growing on the sidewalks, and then they're gonna finish it up with the street sweeper, hitting all the curbs. So we'll all have them make sure they get on the,
Who does
on
the
that drainage.
alleyways? Who does the?
well,
alleyways?
citizens are supposed to do it, and then sometimes when it just utterly fails, we have to go in and take over, but it's supposed to be the citizens that back up to the alley.
Yeah, because that
are in
one behind
charge
the
of-
ice plant, that starts there behind.
Yeah, that's correct, isn't it, Nicole? Yeah,
That one's always been crazy.
yeah.
Well,
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Good TML conference.
It was a good job.
That's
Next
a
year's
good one.
Fort Worth.
Took me a couple days to get over the food, but
Oh, he was in a food coma.
ooh, man.
We had some good food.
I went back this week to Houston to a different conference that was Texas Travel Alliance, and I spoke with Brett and Kathy Ritter, and we were a panel representing Port Aransas and just talking about positive tourism and the impacts of the city working with the CVB, and really focused on kind of the Respect Our Island Home program and how successful it was. And of the entire 3-day conference, which I did not attend, I went up for my speaking part and came back. But we had the highest attended breakout session. So
Really?
people were very interested in what Port Aransas is
Wow.
doing, and were very positive about, things and how things were going. And probably very much like Daniel's conference that he holds when he holds it for the EMS, people, they take note of what's happening in our community. So that's a kudos to everybody and doing a job well done. So.
It's a neat thing at the conference, just meeting when we had the opportunity to meet other officials. They see our name tag and they're Port Aransas. They
Yeah.
would just say, I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
there.
All day
I've
long.
been there. I mean, it's really neat.
Yeah.
Everybody
They would kind of
likes-
smile when they read our name tag.
Yeah. Yeah.
They liked my little, I gave DEA a little plug because everybody was like, how did you get that? It's glued on? No, it's embroidered. So I gave out his number several times. So.
The branding, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? We're adjourned.
Job.
Just
Time for
about
dinner.
to get going.